They toasted his name. She had already surpassed it. My name is Petra Greer. I am 32 years old. At my younger brother's engagement party, my father stood in front of 180 guests and announced that he had always dreamed of having a son to carry the Greer name forward. He called my brother his pride, his legacy, everything I had hoped for. I was not invited to stand for the family photograph. What my father did not know, what none of them knew, was that I had spent the previous 6 years building something they could not have imagined. Something larger than his hedge fund. Something that did not need the Greer name to command respect. They believed I was nobody. His business colleague was about to correct that impression in front of every person my father cared about impressing. And my mother, the woman who had spent 32 years quietly wishing I had been born a son, was about to lose the ability to speak. This is what happened the night my family finally searched my name. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to the family that raised me to be invisible. The Greer family has money. Old money. Connecticut money. The kind that comes with a 9-bedroom estate in a gated waterfront community in Greenwich, where the annual property taxes could purchase a home anywhere else in the country. My father, Edmund Greer, is the managing partner of Greer Capital Partners LP, a boutique hedge fund managing $370 million. Not the largest fund in the market, but old school and respectable. The kind of firm where deals are completed over cigars at the country club, where my father has held membership since 1989. My mother, Margaret, was born into old Southern money in Charleston, South Carolina. She married into Connecticut and spent the next 3 decades perfecting the architecture of social prestige. She chairs the local junior league, sits on the board of the Historical Society, and treats every charity gala she hosts as a performance in which the family name is both the script and the costume. They had 2 children. First me. Then, 4 years later, my brother Elliot. That is when the hierarchy was established. The Greer family operates on a principle so deeply embedded it has never needed to be stated. Sons build legacies. Daughters marry well and host dinner parties. It is not written anywhere. It does not have to be. It lives in every decision they made from the moment Elliot arrived. Elliot was handed a corner office at my father's firm when he turned 26. Vice President of Investor Relations. $275,000 a year plus bonuses. His actual function, taking clients to golf, attending charity dinners, making introductions at cocktail hours. The real investment decisions are made by the senior partners. But my father tells anyone who will listen that Elliot is the future of Greer Capital. I got my childhood bedroom converted into my mother's craft room in 2019. Elliot went to Yale, legacy admission, economics major, barely above a C+ average, followed by 2 years at a mid-tier investment bank where he was hired because my father made a single phone call. Then the vice presidency appeared. Golden terms, golden prospects, golden child. I went to Penn for undergrad. Wharton for my MBA. Graduated at the top of my class. Got hired at a major real estate investment firm on merit. Worked 80-hour weeks for 4 years, analyst to associate, and I saved $2 million by living in a Brooklyn apartment with 3 roommates and bringing lunch from home in a container every single day while my colleagues were spending $50 on sushi. My family thought I was being cheap. I was building a war chest. I left at 26 and started my own firm, Meridian Property Group, private equity focused on sustainable real estate. Adaptive reuse, taking industrial buildings that had been abandoned for years and converting them into mixed-use properties. Residential, commercial, green space. Buildings that had forgotten their purpose, given one again. I told my parents at Thanksgiving dinner, 2019, "Dad, I've started my own company. We just closed our first acquisition. $18 million. He looked up from carving the turkey. "That's nice, Petra. Real estate." A small pause. "Isn't that more for developers?" He turned to Elliot. Speaking of which, Elliot just brought in the Harrington family account. $3 million under management. My mother smiled. "That's wonderful, darling." Then, turning back to me, "Petra, dear, when are you going to stop playing businesswoman and find a husband? You're 27. The clock is ticking." I tried twice more that evening to bring the conversation back to my work. Both times, it pivoted to Elliot within 60 seconds. That was the night I stopped trying to tell them. I built my company in silence. And they never asked a single follow-up question. Fast forward to Saturday, November 16th, 2024. 6 years later. I woke up in my apartment in Tribeca. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson River. A 2-bedroom I purchased in 2021 for $2.3 million. My phone buzzed at 7:30 a.m. A message from my CFO, Alex Rivera. The LP from CalSTRS is asking about concentration risk on the Worth Street deal. Prep additional slides on tenant creditworthiness. I was already dressed. Navy suit, clean lines, expensive but understated. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and went to work, because Monday morning I had a board meeting with $185 million on the line. The biggest deal in Meridian's history. An acquisition at 125 Worth Street in the financial district. If our limited partners voted yes, we'd close in 30 days. If they hesitated, if anything made them nervous, the deal would die. The seller already had a backup offer waiting. At 2 p.m., I closed the laptop, showered, stood in front of my closet. On the left side, my work clothes. Structured suits. The armor I wore when I walked into rooms full of people who thought I was too young, too female, not quite enough. On the right side, my Greenwich clothes. Understated, forgettable, clothes that said I'm harmless, I'm small, I'm not a threat. I chose a navy Armani dress. Elegant enough for an engagement party. Plain enough that my mother would not comment. I checked my phone. My brother's fiancée, Clara Ashford, senior associate at a major real estate investment firm, had tagged me in an Instagram story. "Can't wait for tonight." I looked at her profile briefly. Something felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. I left Tribeca at 4:30 p.m. The drive from Manhattan to Greenwich is 52 miles. About an hour and 15 minutes on a Saturday without heavy traffic. I watched the city dissolve behind me. Watched the suburbs expand into estates. Gas stations became horse farms. Strip malls became stone walls and iron gates. Greenwich, Connecticut. Population 63,000. But the social network my parents inhabit, the people they actually know, maybe 400 families. A closed circuit. Gossip travels at the speed of a text message. I thought about Monday's meeting the whole drive up. 3 conservative institutional investors sitting across a conference table. People responsible for teachers' retirement accounts and hospital workers' pension funds. If they sensed any instability in me, any crack in the composure, they would walk. And I could not afford to fall apart this weekend. I pulled off at exit 3. The guard at the gate recognized my face and waved me through. I had grown up here. He knew the face, if not the person I had become. I parked in the circular driveway at 5:50 p.m. The party started at 7. I sat in my car for 8 minutes. Breathing exercises. Reviewed slides 12 through 18 on my iPad one more time. They still needed polish. At 6:02, I walked inside. The engagement party was not at the house. It was at the country club. Established 1891. Membership cost $85,000 to join, then $12,000 annually. The kind of place where fortunes have been discussed in low voices for over 100 years. The cocktail hour was on the terrace. Long Island Sound stretched out beyond the balcony in the November dusk. 52 degrees. Heat lamps spaced every 12 feet. Tuna tartare on small spoons. Champagne. The good kind, cases of it, ordered by my mother, who knows to the dollar what impression each label makes. I spotted her immediately. Margaret Greer in a cream dress that likely cost more than most people's monthly rent. Hermes clutch gripped precisely. Air kissing a woman from the garden club. Then my father, Edmund, navy suit, watch inherited from his father, laughing at something with a colleague. Cigar in one hand, scotch in the other. And Elliot, my brother, 28 years old, standing beside his fiancée. Clara was blonde, warm, genuinely warm, the kind of person who makes eye contact when she shakes your hand. I noticed her immediately. Something about her felt familiar, and the feeling kept returning throughout the evening. I walked to the bar and ordered a club soda. Petra. My mother's voice, sharp as a whistle. I turned. Oh, you made it. She looked me up and down. The coat check is that way. Then she was already walking away. I sipped my club soda and watched the terrace fill with guests. Investment bankers, lawyers, old money, new money carefully dressed as old money. Greenwich in its full, unself-conscious glory. At 7:15, the staff guided everyone from the terrace into the ballroom for dinner. I found my name on the seating chart. 18 tables. 10 guests per table. 180 people. Table 1, the head table. My father, my mother, Elliot, Clara, her parents, and 4 close family friends. Tables 2 through 6, my father's business circle. The hedge fund world. Private equity. The money crowd. Table 14. That was where they put me. Rear left corner of the ballroom. Partially obscured by a decorative column. 40 feet from the head table. I was seated with distant cousins I hadn't seen in nearly a decade. From table 14, I could see my parents clearly. I could see Elliot and Clara. I could watch them laugh, raise glasses, celebrate. They could not see me at all. My cousin Melissa sat down beside me. Petra. It's been so long. What are you doing these days? Real estate. Mostly boring. That's fun. Tyler and I just bought in Darien. 3 bedrooms. You should come visit. I'd love that. The practiced small talk of family events. Dinner began. The first course arrived. I made conversation. Answered questions on autopilot. Yes, work is going well. No boyfriend currently. Yes, I'm happy. No, not lonely. All of it untrue. At 7:30, the photographer called for family photos. Greer family, please. My father, my mother, Elliot, and Clara walked to the designated spot. Arranged themselves. Raised perfect smiles. The photographer glanced around. Any other immediate family? My mother did not hesitate for even a second. No, she said. This is everyone. I was sitting 40 feet away. My cousin Melissa leaned toward me. Wait, aren't you? It's fine, I said. The photographer raised his camera. Beautiful family. Big smiles. Flash, flash, flash. 6 poses. Different arrangements. The happy couple. The proud parents. The family legacy. I watched through the gap in the column. Not one of them looked back. Dinner continued. The main course arrived. I checked my phone under the table. My CFO had sent talking points about lease structures. I drafted responses. Efficient. Professional. Present in the room in body only. At 8:20, dessert appeared. The lights dimmed slightly. Toast time. My father stood, tapped his champagne flute. The room settled into silence. The particular silence that forms around men like my father, men who have never been told no. Thank you all for being here tonight. His voice carried across the ballroom, warm and confident. Margaret and I are thrilled to celebrate Elliot and Clara's engagement with the people who matter most to us. Applause. The room loved him. He had that quality. I want to tell you about my son, he continued. I want to tell you about my son. From the day Elliot was born, Margaret and I knew he was something special. We had always wanted a son, someone to carry the Greer name forward, someone to build on what the generations before us built. I felt my chest tighten. Elliot has exceeded every expectation. Yale. Investment banking. And now a leader at Greer Capital Partners. He has a natural gift for relationships, a talent for making people feel valued. He is everything I hoped for. My cousin Melissa glanced at me, uncomfortable. I kept my face neutral. Elliot is my pride, my father said, his voice thick with feeling. My legacy. The future of Greer Capital and the Greer family name. The room erupted. Glasses raised. Applause. Then my mother stood. This was not on the program. Margaret was emotional, real tears, not performed ones. She placed her hand on my father's arm. I just have to add something. Her voice wavered. Edmund and I always said, if we could only have had one child, we would have wanted it to be Elliot. Audible gasps at a few nearby tables. Some guests knew I existed. Not many, but some. My mother continued, unaware. He has made every sacrifice worth it. Every sleepless night, every worry. Elliot, darling, you are our greatest joy. She sat down, dabbing her eyes with a linen napkin. The room erupted again. Toasts, congratulations, clinking glasses. 180 people celebrating. Not one of them looked at table 14. Except one. Clara Ashford, 40 feet away at the head table, was staring directly at me. And I watched something shift in her expression. Something she was trying to work out. The photographer called the family back for a photo during the toast. Greer family. Everyone up. My father, my mother, Elliot, Clara. Flash. 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 I stood. My chair scraped the floor. My tablemates assumed I was going to the restroom. Maybe I was. I didn't know anymore. I walked toward the bar, back to the room. The bartender was young, early 20s. He saw my face. Club soda. Please. He poured it, added lime without being asked, slid it across the bar. For what it's worth, he said quietly. I've worked 100 of these parties. That was cold. I looked at him. Yeah. Families. I left a 20 on the bar for a $4 drink. Footsteps behind me. I turned. Clara Ashford. And this time she wasn't smiling politely. She looked urgent. Can I talk to you for a second? We moved to a corner near the French doors leading back to the terrace. The jazz quartet had started in the ballroom behind us. Clara looked at me carefully. I'm so sorry about that toast. That was... She stopped. Searched for words. I don't even have words for what that was. It's fine, I said. My automatic response. The lie I had been telling for 32 years. It's not fine, she said. And you shouldn't be used to it. Silence. She was still looking at me, head tilted slightly, eyes narrowing. Your voice, she said. I know your voice. I don't think we've met before tonight. No, I do. I know I do. She shook her head, frustrated with herself. It's been bothering me all evening. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Because I could see exactly what was about to happen. I watched her brain working, the gears turning, and then her eyes went wide. Oh my God. Barely a whisper. What's your full name? Petra. Petra, what? I looked at her. This woman who was about to marry my brother. This woman I had sat across from 9 months ago in a conference room in Manhattan. Greer, I said. She pulled out her phone. Hands slightly unsteady. Typed quickly. Waited. The Google results loaded in 47 seconds. She stared at the screen. Then at me. Then back at the screen. Oh my God, she whispered. You're Petra J. Greer. I said nothing. From Meridian Property Group. You're the CEO. Yes. Her face cycled through disbelief. Shock. Something approaching horror. She showed me her phone like I didn't already know what was there. LinkedIn, Petra J. Greer. Founder and CEO, Meridian Property Group. 4,200 connections. She clicked through to the company website. The About page. My bio. My professional headshot from the previous year. She read aloud, voice shaking slightly, Meridian Property Group, private equity firm specializing in sustainable adaptive reuse real estate. $520 million in assets under management. 523 as of last month, I said. She looked at me. Elliot said you did real estate consulting. I know what he said. She scrolled. Clicked. A business journal profile. An industry board listing. A university guest speaker page. Every scroll, another piece of evidence. Every click, another version of me my family had chosen not to see. And then I saw the moment of recognition arrive. Oh my God. Her voice cracked. February 15th. The words came faster now. I pitched to you. At your offices. We were looking at co-investment opportunities. Conference room C. You presented your full portfolio. You knew every number without looking at notes. She stared at me. I told my MD you were the sharpest CEO I'd encountered that quarter. I remembered the meeting. She'd asked tough questions. Precise questions. I had respected that. Why didn't you say something? Her voice broke slightly. When we met tonight. When Elliot introduced us. Why didn't you? You mean when he said I do real estate consulting? When he said it was nothing serious. Clara had no words. She turned slowly and looked across the ballroom, at Elliot, then at my father, then at my mother, then back at me. And I saw the exact moment she understood everything. A woman standing nearby, Mrs. Hartfield, wife of one of my father's competitors, leaned toward Clara. Everything all right? Clara looked at her. Do you know who Petra is? Edmund's daughter. Yes. No. Clara's voice was strange. Hollow. Do you know who she is? She held up the phone screen. Mrs. Hartfield squinted. Her expression changed. Oh, she said. Oh my. She pulled out her own phone and searched. Her husband, 2 seats away, noticed. He looked at her screen. Pulled out his own phone. Googled. The woman beside him leaned over, saw the results, and made a quiet sound of disbelief. Within 60 seconds, my entire table was staring at phones. Then table 13. Then table 12. Whispers building, multiplying, spreading through the room like weather. 520 million. She founded it herself. Edmund doesn't know. How does he not know? She's his daughter. Clara turned back to me, her mouth open, about to say something. But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was watching the man now approaching the head table. Richard Manton. Managing director at the same real estate investment firm where Clara worked. My father's old friend, country club member since the 90s, the man my father played golf with every third Saturday. I watched him lean down and murmur something in my father's ear. I watched my father's champagne flute stop halfway to his mouth. I watched his face freeze. Edmund Greer pulled out his phone. He typed slowly, one finger, deliberate. Waited. I couldn't see his screen from 40 feet away. But I knew exactly what he was reading. His face drained of color. Richard was still talking. Low and urgent. My mother noticed. She walked over. Darling, what is it? He didn't answer. He handed her the phone. She read. Confusion. Then disbelief. Then something darker, uglier. This can't be Petra, she said, loud enough that I could hear her from the bar. This must be someone else. Greer is not an uncommon name. Richard's voice carried steadily. Margaret, it's her. Same photograph, same age, born in Greenwich. My mother looked across the ballroom. Found me standing at the bar. Our eyes met. I did not look away. She started walking toward me. Heels clicking on the marble. Clutch gripped so tightly her knuckles had gone white. And I knew, with complete clarity, that this was the moment I had been moving toward for 6 years. The confrontation I had never wanted but had always understood was inevitable. Margaret reached the bar. 40 people nearby were watching. Another 60 sensing the shift in the room's atmosphere without quite knowing why. She leaned in, her voice low, controlled, trying to keep this contained. "What have you done?" I looked at her. My mother. The woman who had expressed, in front of 180 people, that she wished I had never been born. "I haven't done anything, Mom. You have humiliated us. You've made us look like fools. I've humiliated you." My voice was calm. Too calm. I've been sitting 40 feet away while Dad toasted the son he wished were his only child. "Don't be dramatic." He said it out loud. "You said it out loud. In front of every person you know. You're twisting what was said." "I'm not twisting anything. I'm letting people see the truth that you've been arranging furniture in front of for 30 years. My father appeared behind her. Edmund Greer, a man who had always had something to say, stood there completely silent. He tried to speak. Failed. Tried again. "Petra, we didn't know. You never told us. I told you at Thanksgiving 2019. You said real estate was for developers, not serious investors." "I didn't mean." "What didn't you mean, Dad? That I wasn't serious? Or that I wasn't worth taking seriously?" He had no answer. "If you had known the scale," I said, "would it have mattered? Would you have introduced me instead of erasing me from the photograph? Would you have included me in the toast instead of saying your son was everything you ever wanted?" He stood there. Nothing. Elliot appeared, pulled away from wherever he'd been by Clara, who had apparently decided that if this was going to happen, it was going to happen with everyone present. "What's going on?" he asked. Clara showed him her phone. "Your sister runs a $520 million company, Elliot." "What?" "No, she does consulting. Look at the screen." He looked. He read. His face went through everything I had expected: confusion, disbelief, something approaching awe. "Petra, this is you." "Yes. But you never. Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried. You weren't interested. None of you were." "That's not. When is the last time you asked about my work?" I said. "When is the last time anyone in this family asked me one question about what I do? A real question. Not a polite pivot before changing the subject." Elliot looked at Clara, at my father, at my mother, looking for someone to contradict me. No one did. My mother took my arm. "We are going somewhere private. Right now." We walked through the ballroom, 50 people watching, to a small sitting room off the main hall. Victorian furniture. A settee that probably cost more than a car. The door closed behind us. 5 people in the room: me, my mother, my father, Elliot and Clara, who had followed Elliot without anyone stopping her. My mother paced. My father sat with his head in his hands. Elliot stood near the door, lost. "How dare you?" Margaret said. "Tonight of all nights. Your brother's engagement." I sat quietly at table 14 while you erased me. Again. In front of everyone. Don't play the victim. You deliberately hid this from us. I laughed, a short, startled sound I barely recognized as my own. "I hid this." "You did, Dad." I turned to him. "Why didn't you tell us, if you knew?" "I told you. Thanksgiving 2019. I brought a portfolio book to show you." You flipped through it for 30 seconds and said, "That's nice, dear." Mom asked who wanted pie. Elliot was on his phone. I tried again, You changed the subject to Elliot's promotion. I tried a third time. You physically walked away. That's not how I. Of course it's not how you remember. You weren't listening. My father said, quietly. We've always supported you, Petra. You've always supported Elliot. Silence. My mother's voice turned ice cold. Well, I suppose now we understand why you've never found a husband. Too busy playing CEO. And something in me broke. Not the sad kind of breaking. The liberating kind. Let me tell you what you missed, I said. My voice was steady. The voice I used in board meetings when someone challenged my numbers and I knew I was right. 2018. I founded Meridian Property Group with $2 million I had saved while working 80-hour weeks. Every dollar from my own account. No family money. No phone calls. No connections. 2019. First acquisition. $18 million. A warehouse in Brooklyn you called playing developer. 2020. COVID. Everyone said real estate was finished. I bought 4 properties at a 30% discount when every other buyer had pulled back. 2021. I raised $180 million from institutional investors. Pension funds. University endowments. 2022. 12 properties in the portfolio. 2024. $523 million under management. 32 employees. 18 properties across New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. I looked at each of them in turn. I sit on the board of the Urban Green Council. I've spoken at Wharton and Columbia. I've been quoted in the Wall Street Journal. My firm's internal rate of return is 23%. Do you know what that means, Dad? It means I'm outperforming 90% of real estate private equity firms in this country. My father stared at his hands. And none of that matters, I said. Because you never asked. Elliot stood up. Petra, I'm not finished. I turned to him. You've been VP at Dad's firm for 2 years. Your salary is $275,000. You've brought in $3 million in client assets, one of those a personal referral from a family friend. Your job is golf and cocktail hours. And they call you the future of Greer Capital. His face went red. I have 32 employees who depend on their paychecks. I manage $523 million that belongs to teachers and firefighters and hospital workers. If I fail, they lose their retirements. And our parents think you're the successful one. That's not fair, Elliot said quietly. You're right. It's not fair. None of this is fair. Clara spoke for the first time since we'd entered the room. Her voice was measured, professional, the voice of someone accustomed to delivering uncomfortable assessments to senior partners. Mr. and Mrs. Greer, I think you need to understand something. All eyes moved to her. I work in institutional real estate investment. I've reviewed over 50 private equity firms in the past 3 years. Meridian Property Group is exceptional. She looked directly at my father. 23% IRR. Disciplined underwriting. Institutional quality LP base. Strong track record. 0 losses on exit. My mother started to interrupt. I'm marrying into this family, Clara said. Her voice didn't rise, didn't waver. Which means this is absolutely my business. She turned to them both. When I pitched to Petra in February, I told my managing director she was the sharpest CEO I had encountered that quarter. A pause. And tonight I sat and listened to you toast your son for bringing in 1 referral from a family friend. She let that sit for a moment. The disconnect, she said quietly, is staggering. Elliot stared at Clara like he was seeing her for the first time. And in that moment, I understood something I hadn't expected. She was the only person in that room who saw me with completely clear eyes. My father's voice, when it came, was small and defeated. What do you want from us, Petra? I paused. Thought about it, honestly. I want you to have asked. I said finally. 6 years ago. 4 years ago. Last month. I want you to have been curious enough to look up my company name. I want you to have included me in one family photograph. I want you to have not said, in front of 180 people, that your son was all you ever wanted while I was sitting 40 feet away. We can fix this, my father said. We will. You can't fix 32 years. My mother's voice sharpened. So this is it. You're simply done with us. I looked at her. I've been done for a long time, I said. Tonight you're just finally noticing. I walked to the door. Put my hand on the handle. Then I turned back, one last time. You spent 32 years wishing I was different, I said. I spent 6 years becoming someone extraordinary. The difference is I did it without needing your approval. I looked at my father. Your fund manages $370 million, Dad. Mine manages $523. I surpassed you, and you never even knew we were in the same game. I opened the door. Petra. Clara's voice, behind me. I turned. Congratulations on your engagement, Clara. You're marrying a good man. I paused. I hope he learns to be a better brother. I walked out of that room, past 168 people who finally saw me, out through the club's front entrance, and I drove back to Manhattan. Alone. The way I had built everything. I pulled over at a rest stop near the George Washington Bridge. 11:10 p.m. The parking lot was nearly empty, a few trucks, late travelers, sodium light pooling on the asphalt. I sat in the dark with my hands on the steering wheel. My phone was buzzing. Clara. Elliot. Numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored them all. I thought about Monday's meeting. 3 pension fund chief investment officers across a conference table. Lawyers from Sullivan and Cromwell. My own investment committee. All of them waiting for me to be composed, precise, professional. I couldn't afford to fall apart. But sitting there in that parking lot watching semis roll past on the interstate, I let myself feel it. Just for 10 minutes. The grief. The anger. The strange, quiet relief of no longer protecting them from the truth. Then I turned the car back on. Drove the rest of the way to Tribeca. Got home at 11:45. Changed into sweats. Made tea. Opened my laptop. And I did what I always did when the world felt like it was ending. I worked. People ask me how I built Meridian Property Group. They want the secret, the formula, the shortcut. There is no shortcut. I built it the way you build anything that lasts, one decision at a time. Fresh out of Wharton. I took an analyst position at a major real estate investment firm. $85,000 a year. Good money for 22. Except Manhattan rents were $3,500 a month for a studio, and my colleagues were spending $150,000 annually and living paycheck to paycheck. I moved to Brooklyn. Found a room in a 3-bedroom apartment. $1,200 a month. I wore the same 3 suits for 2 years. I brought lunch from home in a container every single day. I took the subway while everyone else expensed car services. They thought I was cheap. I was saving 60% of my income. By year 4, I was an associate. Base salary $140,000. Bonuses had grown substantially. I lived the exact same way, same apartment, same subway, same lunch from home. Because the goal wasn't comfort. The goal was capital. By 26, I had $2 million in the bank. I quit in January 2018. My boss told me I was making a mistake. That starting your own firm in your 20s was naive. That I was throwing away a promising career. I thanked him for his concern. I rented a 400-square-foot office in the financial district, $3,200 a month. Incorporated Meridian Property Group, LLC. And I started looking for the first deal. It was a warehouse in Brooklyn, a 42,000-square-foot former textile factory, built in 1952, abandoned for 8 years. The broker told me I was too young. The lender said I was too inexperienced. The seller said women don't do this kind of deal. I closed in 90 days. $18 million purchase price. $12 million in debt. $6 million equity, half from my savings, half from 3 investors I'd cultivated at my previous firm. I converted the building into 68 apartments with a rooftop garden and ground floor retail. Sold it in 2020 for $31 million. My investors made 2.1 times their money. And I was just getting started. 2019, 3 more acquisitions. All profitable. Building a track record. 2020, COVID. The real estate market seized. Everyone said it was over, office was dead, residential was finished, investors were retreating. I leaned into the chaos. Bought 4 properties at 30% discounts. Distressed sellers, motivated deals, buildings other buyers were afraid to touch. By 2022, those 4 properties were worth 50% more than I had paid for them. 2021, I had 6 profitable deals on my track record. I went to institutional investors an with investment banking firm, adaptive lease reuse, expiration sustainable 27. If they don't renew, underwriting, 2 backup letters of intent from investment grade tenants. In my first institutional combined, fund, they absorb 65% of that space at rental rates endowments above current. State retirement systems raised his hand. My team grew. Your from largest 4 tenant to 18 represents 40% from 400 square feet to a full What's your floor mitigation at 55 plan Broadway if they decide with not to renew the Brooklyn Bridge? By 2023, my note, 12 properties. We have signed letters of intent $50 million back under management, both investment grade credit. 18 combined properties, they take 65% of that space at 8% and through every all-nighter, every the pitch first deck, LOI every closing, executed every crisis. October 23rd. My family thought I was doing consulting. November 2nd. Because I had stopped telling them through year end. Because they had stopped he wrote something down. Because some part of me had finally given up trying to be seen about interest rate exposure. Long before I built our hedge strategy, who I was. Fixed rate Sunday, senior debt, November 17th, caps on floating 7 exposure. A.m. James 3 hours of sleep about exit maybe. Scenarios. I went to the gym. Presented 3 6-5-year hold on the 7-year, 10-year 48 with minutes. IRR projections trying for to clear my head enough to be useful. Upside cases came back. 45 showered, minutes of presentation. Coffee. 35 and at 9 a.m. of Q&A. I went to the office. 0 stumbles. Sunday morning at 9:35 was empty. The LP my footsteps echoed in the hallway. I sat in the conference room. The Monday presentation. My team around me worked through slides. The lawyers 12 at the end 18. Of the table added a new page. Waited. A tenant creditworthiness matrix showing investment grade ratings. Robert Chen LOI for mitigation strategies. Petra. Your team has done exceptional work on this conservative fiduciaries the underwriting who needed to feel certain. The risk mitigation, Clara texted. Petra, I don't even know what to say. I had no idea. Unanimous I'm so approval. Sorry. 75 million in equity commitment confirmed. At 12:47 target, I've been December talking 15th. To Elliot. He needs to understand around the table. Can this we is get the kind of diligence that makes us confident in Meridian. I finally wrote back. You didn't earn this. Not your fault. Thank you. I said, focus on we won't Elliot. Let you down. She replied, they left. What about you? My team I looked erupted. At that question for a long time. I've been taking care of myself for Sarah 6 years. Me. At 2:33 p.m. I said, Elliot left a voicemail to the bathroom. His voice was unsteady. Petra, and I let myself feel it. I don't even know where to begin. I had been erased. Clara showed me every photograph. Your company told the properties in front of the every numbers. Person my parents I don't valued. Understand that why you never told me. Never been born. I mean. And now I had just closed the biggest deal of my career. Because I was too busy being the golden child to actually look at you. Not from joy. From I've been thinking all night about the way every time you tried to say something alone and I changed the subject. From every time they dismissed you and I said nothing. Probably never I was a coward. I'm still learning not to be. Then I washed my face. I want to be better. Fixed my composure. Background noise. The mirror. Clara's voice back out somewhere behind Alex him. Looked at me. The voicemail knew ended. Something had happened. I listened to it 3 times. Ask. Then I deleted it. Lunch. Not I out smiled. Of anger. Absolutely. Out of protection. Team lunch. Because if I let myself feel it, a really restaurant feel it, around the corner from the office, and I had a board meeting in the 20 hours. At 4:18 p.m., we toasted an email from my father. The deal. Subject: 5 years of turning down the wrong things so your mother and I yes are deeply hurt that you chose to conceal your professional life had been. We deserve an explanation. How we have supported you your entire life, and this is how you repay us? They did by humiliating us in front of our colleagues and friends. To Petra, call us immediately. Operator, whatever issues you believe you have with this family, there are proper ways to address them. Trusting the process. We raised you to value family above all else. To all of you, your behavior Saturday night showed a stunning lack of respect. Literally. We expected to hear surrounded by people who had chosen to work with me, who respected my judgment, who celebrated what we built together. Apology. I understood something I had been moving toward for 6 years. Blame. I had already built the family I needed. Then I composed at my 3:45 p.m. Dad, back you at the say desk. I humiliated you. A text from Elliot. I sat quietly at table 14. I know you don't want to hear you wished were your only child. I'm proud of you. I didn't humiliate you. Should have been. I simply stopped I never said you from the truth. I read it twice. I will resume contact under 3 conditions. Thank you. First, that means you will send written acknowledgement to Saturday's guests. Can we get correcting the record about not my professional standing. Everything. Second, just to talk. You will commit to 6 months of family therapy with a licensed therapist. Not yet. Attendance, but maybe not someday. Optional. I'll wait. Third, you will never again diminish my quiet. Exclude my me father from the family narrative 3 more or emails. Treat my accomplishments my mother as left 2 voicemails. Until these conditions are met, explanation. Please direct all framing my silence as betrayal matters through my attorney. Consequences Petra, related to estate planning. I hit send. I forwarded for the first time in 32 years. A formal response went actually breathe. Ms. Greer has designated November me as her representative for family legal matters. Please direct all communications through my office. Coffee. They wanted me to final review of the presentation. Argue, to defend myself. The good to perform the role of the watch I bought myself when we closed our 10th property. Because the only power they had left was whatever I chose to give them. I left my apartment at 6:50. Thanksgiving. Walked the mile. My mother texted whatever issues we're having. I needed the November air. Family needed time. The feeling of my feet on the pavement. At 2 p.m. Needed to Thursday. Arrive as myself rather than as the person the weekend had tried to reduce with whom. My team was already there when I walked in at I'm spending it with people who Alex Rivera. She didn't respond after 2 of my partners, my actual Sarah Thanksgiving and Marcus Torres, Friendsgiving with 4 friends from college. Alex my Tribeca. I looked at him. I cooked this turkey, man who had left stuffing, a safe position mashed at an established firm to bet on a 28-year-old woman with a laptop who knew my actual life, who had been here for 4 years. My mother posted a photograph and on every deal that nearly my didn't. Father, my mother, ready. Elliot, you see, Clara. I'm grateful fine. For family. Let's run the Q&A one more time without stopping. We did. December 3rd. The limited partners a letter from my father's attorney to mine. 3 Our clients are prepared to reconsider their daughter's position in family trusts every meeting, estate plan, calibrated, unless she engages in good faith reconciliation within 30 Robert days. Chen, representing a state teacher's retirement system, they're using managing $300 billion in total assets. Want me to push our LP harder. For $22 million. No. Let Dr. Lisa Marchetti, representing a university endowment of $14 billion figures. Our LP for $18 million. Money. James O'Brien, representing a state common retirement fund, spend $250 billion performing gratitude our LP for $35 million. Another pause. Fiduciaries. Okay. People responsible for the retirement security they of teachers, money was nurses, leverage, and civil servants. They had spent 32 years teaching me or uncertainty was transactional. They would walk. And now they were surprised I had learned that lesson so well. Opened. December and I became 8th. The person my handwritten letter never arrived at my 8:05. 3 I started the presentation. I recognized the handwriting, the opportunity. Petra, I've been in therapy for 3 weeks. Financial individual sessions with a psychologist square feet. I'm not telling you this to get credit. I'm telling you because I want you to know office I'm actually trying for 3 years. I've been thinking about Thanksgiving 2019. Adaptive reuse residential conversion. Dad barely looked at luxury units. Mom changed ground the floor retail. And I sat there on my phone, amenities 23 years old, and couldn't be bothered to ask my own sister a single real question about her work. $185 million. That's not just passive. Senior debt. That's $100 million. And I've been $75 million. I've been thinking about every dinner where they talked about me for an hour and mentioned you in passing. Co-investment. I moved through the slides without checking notes. Methodical. Certain. Slide 18. Tenant creditworthiness matrix. Largest current tenant, an investment banking firm, Lease expiration 2027. If they don't renew, 2 backup letters of intent from investment-grade tenants. Combined, they absorb 65% of that space at rental rates 8% above current. Robert Chen raised his hand. Your largest tenant represents 40% of NOI. What's your mitigation plan if they decide not to renew? I didn't look at my notes. We have signed letters of intent from 2 backup tenants, both investment-grade credit. Combined, they take 65% of that space at 8% above current rents. The first LOI was executed October 23rd. The second, November 2nd. Both valid through year-end. He wrote something down. Nodded. Dr. Marchetti asked about interest rate exposure. I walked through our hedge strategy. Fixed-rate senior debt. Caps on floating exposure. James O'Brien asked about exit scenarios. I presented 3, 5-year hold, 7-year, 10-year, with IRR projections for conservative, base, and upside cases. 45 minutes of presentation. 35 minutes of Q&A. 0 stumbles. At 9:35, the LP stepped out to deliberate. I sat in the conference room. My team around me. The lawyers at the end of the table. We waited. 9:37. They came back. Robert Chen spoke for the group. Petra, your team has done exceptional work on this deal. The underwriting is disciplined. The risk mitigation is thorough. We're comfortable moving forward. A pause. Unanimous approval. $75 million in equity commitment confirmed. Closing target, December 15th. We shook hands around the table. This is the kind of diligence that makes us confident in Meridian, Chen said. You've earned this. Thank you, I said. We won't let you down. They left. My team erupted. High fives. Relieved laughter. Sarah hugged me. Give me 1 minute, I said. I walked to the bathroom. Locked the stall. And I let myself feel it. 39 hours earlier I had been erased from my family photograph. Told, in front of every person my parents valued, that they wished I had never been born. And now I had just closed the biggest deal of my career. My hands started shaking. Silent tears. Not from joy. From exhaustion. From the weight of carrying everything alone for 6 years. From proving myself to people who would probably never entirely see it. 2 minutes. Then I washed my face. Fixed my composure. Checked the mirror. Walked back out. Alex looked at me. Knew something had happened. Didn't ask. Champagne at lunch? I smiled. Absolutely. Team lunch. 8 of us. A restaurant around the corner from the office. Champagne, the good kind. The office paid. We toasted the team. The deal. 5 years of turning down the wrong things so we could say yes to the right one. Someone asked how my weekend had been. Family thing, I said. How was it? Fine. I didn't elaborate. They didn't push. Sarah raised her glass. To Petra. Best operator I've ever worked for. Alex. To this team. To trusting the process. I raised mine. To all of you. I couldn't do this without you. Literally. And sitting there, surrounded by people who had chosen to work with me, who respected my judgment, who celebrated what we built together, I understood something I had been moving toward for 6 years. I had already built the family I needed. At 3:45 p.m., back at the desk. A text from Elliot, sent at 2:10 p.m. I know you don't want to hear from me. But I'm proud of you. I always should have been. I'm sorry I never said it. I read it twice. 4:02 p.m. Thank you. That means something. 4:15. Can we get coffee? Not to fix everything. Just to talk. I thought about it. 4:30. Not yet. But maybe someday. I'll wait. The week that followed was quiet. My father sent 3 more emails. My mother left 2 voicemails. all demanding explanation, all framing my silence as betrayal, all hinting at consequences related to estate planning. I forwarded everything to my attorney. A formal response went out. Ms. Greer has designated me as her representative for family legal matters. Please direct all communications through my office. They wanted me to engage, to argue, to defend myself, to perform the role of the daughter asking forgiveness. I refused, because the only power they had left was whatever I chose to give them. And I gave them none. Thanksgiving. My mother texted, whatever issues we're having, Thanksgiving is family time. We expect you at 2 p.m. Thursday. I have other plans. Other plans with whom? This is family tradition. I'm spending it with people who see me. She didn't respond after that. My actual Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving with 4 friends from college. My Tribeca apartment. I cooked turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pie. 6 p.m. People who knew my actual life. That evening, my mother posted a photograph on Instagram. My father, my mother, Elliot, Clara. Grateful for family. I scrolled past it without stopping. December 3rd. A letter from my father's attorney to mine. Our clients are prepared to reconsider their daughter's position in family trusts and estate planning unless she engages in good faith reconciliation within 30 days. My attorney called. They're using inheritance as leverage. Want me to push back harder? No. Let them write me out. A pause. We're potentially talking 8 figures. I don't want their money. I never did. I'd rather have nothing from them than spend the rest of my life performing gratitude for conditional approval. Another pause. Okay. I'll draft the response. They thought money was leverage. They had spent 32 years teaching me that love was transactional. And now they were surprised I had learned that lesson so well. December 8th. A handwritten letter arrived at my office. 3 pages. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Petra, I've been in therapy for 3 weeks. Individual sessions with a psychologist in the city. I'm not telling you this to get credit. I'm telling you because I want you to know I'm actually trying. I've been thinking about Thanksgiving 2019. You brought that portfolio book. Dad barely looked at it. Mom changed the subject. And I sat there on my phone, 23 years old, and couldn't be bothered to ask my own sister a single real question about her work. That's not just passive. That's its own kind of cruelty. And I've been sitting with that. I've been thinking about every dinner where they talked about me for an hour and mentioned you in passing. Every time I accepted praise without asking why you never got any. Every time I benefited from being the favorite without once questioning what it cost you. I was a coward. I'm trying to learn not to be. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it yet. I just wanted you to know, I see it now. I see what I did, and what I didn't do. Elliot. I read it twice. Put it in my desk drawer. Didn't respond yet. But I kept it. Because trying was something. Not enough. But something. December 12th. Coffee with Clara. A small cafe near my office, early morning. She ordered a courte-du. So did I. We laughed. We talked for an hour. About the industry, about life. About her gradually coming to understand that Elliot had a considerable amount of growing up still ahead of him. I've been pushing him, she said. Therapy. Actually listening. It's slow. Growth usually is. Are you okay? Really? I considered the question honestly. I'm better than I've been in years, I said. It turns out that removing toxicity from your life has measurable effects on your health. Even when the toxicity comes from family. Especially then. She smiled, small and real. Would you ever co-invest with my firm again? She asked carefully. On a deal. Professionally. I looked at her. This woman who had recognized me in a room where no one else had. Who had stood in a side office and told my parents the truth without being asked to. who had followed Elliot not because the family was easy but because she believed he could become better. "Send me the deal memo," I said. Her smile widened. In the months that followed, Meridian closed the Worth Street acquisition, announced a second deal in Boston, then a third in Philadelphia. 4 months, $438 million in new acquisitions. Our team grew to 38. Assets under management hit $687 million. A real estate industry publication ran a profile, Meridian's Momentum. Petra Greer has built one of the Northeast's most disciplined real estate private equity firms, without fanfare, without inherited advantage, and without cutting corners. My parents sent no acknowledgement. My father and mother never entered therapy. In February, their attorney sent a second letter, this one a careful 2-page attempt at something resembling an apology, drafted by lawyers, reviewed by lawyers, every sentence calibrated for legal protection rather than genuine accountability. "We acknowledge that our communication regarding your professional endeavors may have been insufficient. 0 instances of the word sorry. 0 accountability. Just careful, managed language designed to open a door without actually walking through it." I read it. Archived it. Did not respond. They wanted reconciliation on their terms. I wanted change. We wanted different things. Elliot kept going to therapy. He sent brief monthly updates, respectful, not demanding. In January, he wrote that he had admitted to his therapist that he had been coasting on unearned advantage his entire adult life. In February, he texted me with actual, specific questions about cap rates and lease structures. Questions that required knowing what those things were. March 1st, I agreed to lunch. Neutral ground. Midtown. Noon. We sat down. Ordered. Awkward at first. The specific awkwardness of 2 people who share 28 years of history and almost no real knowledge of each other. Then Elliot asked about the Boston deal. The Seaport District acquisition. "It's a competitive submarket," he said. "How did you make the underwriting work?" I was quiet for a moment, slightly surprised. "Off-market seller," I said. "Less competition. Better pricing." We'd been cultivating that relationship for 18 months before the deal surfaced. He nodded. "Smart." Another pause. "I'm sorry it took me 28 years to ask you a real question." I looked at him. My little brother. The golden child who was, slowly and imperfectly, and with no guarantee of success, trying to become a better person. "It's a start," I said. When we left, he asked if we could do it again. Once a month. I said yes. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a start. In the spring, Clara was promoted to vice president at her firm, partly because of a co-investment deal she had sourced through Meridian. She told me privately that she had advocated internally for the relationship. "I pushed for it because you're the best operator I know," she said. "Not because you're my future sister-in-law." "I know," I said. "That's why I said yes." In January, I met someone at an industry event. Daniel Forster. 34. Architect. Sustainable design. He had grown up in the Midwest in a middle-class family, won a scholarship to study architecture, and built his career the way I had built mine, through sustained, unglamorous effort. No trust fund. No phone calls from well-placed parents. He understood building things from nothing. We had coffee. Then dinner. We moved slowly. Years of being alone had taught me to protect myself carefully, and I wasn't interested in shortcuts. But by spring, we were spending real time together. He knew about my family situation. He didn't push for information or offer easy answers. He was the first person in years who saw me completely. Not the CEO, not the daughter, not the success story, not the wound. Just me. For the first time in a very long time, I let myself imagine a future that included someone. Not to complete me, but to walk beside me. In June, Elliot and Clara were married at the country club in Greenwich. The same venue where, 7 months earlier, I had been seated behind a decorative column at table 14. Elliot had texted me 2 months before. I know this is complicated. But would you come? Not for them. For me and Clara. I thought about it for 3 days. I discussed it with my therapist. I said yes, on my own terms. I would attend the ceremony. I would stay through the cocktail hour. I would not sit at the family table. I would not perform warmth I did not feel for people who had not yet earned it. I called Elliot to tell him. I'll be there for you, I said. Not to make anyone comfortable. Just because you're my brother and you're trying. That's enough, he said. I RSVP'd. +1. I was bringing Daniel. I was going back to Greenwich. But this time, I was not going as Petra, the forgotten daughter. The one behind the column. The one they wished had been born different. I was going as Petra J. Greer, CEO. And they would have to look directly at me. People ask me if I'm angry. I'm not. Anger is exhausting, and I have used my energy for other things. I'm just done. Done performing. Done shrinking. Done hoping that if I achieved enough, if I built enough, if I became undeniable enough, the people who were supposed to love me would finally see me. Because I see myself now. And it turns out that's enough. I built a $500 million company without their help. Without their approval. Without their acknowledgement. I built it in silence. And silence, it turns out, can be the loudest kind of power. My parents spent 32 years wishing I were smaller. Quieter. More convenient. I became larger, more certain, and I stopped apologizing for the space I took up. Here is what I learned. Your family's inability to see you does not diminish your value. Their blindness is their limitation. Not yours. You can grieve the family you deserved while building the life you earned. You can set limits without cruelty. You can walk away without guilt. And you can build something extraordinary. Something that matters, something that endures, without needing the people who were supposed to love you to witness it. I spent 6 years becoming someone my parents couldn't ignore. And they still looked away. Because seeing me would have meant admitting they were wrong. And some people would rather hold their story together than update it for the truth. So I stopped waiting for them to see me. And I started building a life where I could see myself. That is not revenge. That is freedom. If your family can't see you, build a life where you see yourself. Show up for yourself every single day, until the reflection in the mirror is someone you are proud of. Until the team around you is the family you chose. Until what you've built is proof, not for them, but for you, that you were always enough. I know some of you watching this are seeing your own story in mine. The child who was told they weren't enough. The adult who built something real while their family looked in the opposite direction. The person who had to choose themselves over the people who were supposed to choose them first. I see you. You made the right call. Have you ever had to choose between family and your own worth? What did you do? I'd love to hear from you in the comments.